Welcome back. It is KTN Scholar. And before the break, we were talking about what should be done by the next person who will be elected the man in charge of the Kenya Rugby Union. And Kevin Kimani, who is at Jamhuri Grounds, who had spoken with some 3 rugby players. At the same time, the players are also some rugby fans. We've listened to what they've said. Let me pick first what Michael Cheng said. The issue about player welfare. It is a big issue, and this is one of the main reasons as why the 7 senior players are not a part of the team. What needs to be done to fix this mess?
I've already proposed that when I come in, I'll make sure that the Kenya Rugby Players Welfare Association will be registered. Right now, the situation is that the union sees the players as the enemy, that they're agitating for their rights. Of course, they should agitate for their rights. This is rugby. Rugby is played on the pitch, not in the boardroom. Everybody has their work to do and their roles to play. The players are to play on the pitch, the coaches coach, and the board directors run policy and bring in sponsorships and all that, and run the programs. Now, there's a failure at the board level. That is why I want to come in as chairman to change things. When I was there as a director and also as vice chairman of Kenya Rugby, we took care of these issues. I mean, I am the first one to have come in and put in player contracts, performance contracts. Together with the management at that point, that was Benjamin Ayimba, Oscar Osir, and Felix Ochieng. We came up, and also with the senior players that time who were senior. We said, these are resources we have. Okay, this will be your salary here, performance-based. Get to a quarter-final, this is what we'll get. And that was with what money we had. We got bigger sponsorships, we increased that. But it has to be player-centric. This is all about the player. The player is the most important part, the player and the fans. This Mtu Mkubwa syndrome has to end, that you get to the board and start going on trips, hobnobbing and enjoying some whiskey. Or that has to end. It's all about the rugby player. So I'm going to make sure that this is registered. And this Kenya Rugby Players Welfare Association will have former players, current players. So I was saying, you'll have senior players like who have retired, Cliff Mukulu, Shaka Kwach, Dennis Awori, also mixing with current players like like Shimoli, who has spoken very eloquently now, Collins Njara. Let's have that mix where you have retired guys who in the 60s who played for Kenya, who played in this setup, and current players, and get those synergies working together. Now, when you have those numbers, because currently I think we have about 2,500 registered players, that player pool should increase in a population of 47 million. And I'm going to make sure also that we talk to the Minister of Education and have rugby as a primary education curriculum sport that also comes in with its budget. Yeah, and of course the talent is there. I always say the talent in Kenya is falling off the trees. What we need to do is to harness it. When you see that talent unleashed on the world, that's why we are getting to win a Singapore final. When you get to a semi-final of a World Cup against professional players, and you surpass even all expectations. But I have good expectations. In 2009, when I was on the board as a director, I told the rest of the board that I think Kenya is going to get to the final. And my other directors actually laughed. And our chairman right now was the chairman then. It's only me as director of Sevens, together with the management of the team and the players themselves, who actually believed. And we got to the semi-final. We beat Fiji in the quarter-final. Then we lost Argentina. And then Wales won that World Cup, which was also against all odds because Wales now also battling relegation. So the talent is there. We just need to harness good leadership, attract back the sponsorships. The sponsors are waiting to come in. Now with the Kenya government actually did a good thing by bringing in these tax incentives. You put money into sponsorship, say 100 million, you get your 30% back. That out of tax. Of course, everybody wants to pay less tax, but this is a very good incentive that was put in by the government. So we must commend the government, and we need to work with government. Government also wants the best for this team, because this team are ambassadors of Kenya. Once you saw those images that you've just shown now of the pride that the players brought in this country, you're walking tall. You can go into a board meeting with whoever, in London, but when you walk in, you have pride because of what those boys did on the weekend. We need to bring back that, and it's very possible. It's going to take a lot of work, because right now I think we're in 82 million in the red. Once corporate Kenya and actually the world sees that there's changes, we need to change this perception of what's been happening, and it's all about teamwork. Teamwork. It's not an individual who will do this. I will work with a good team. Right now, there's lack of proper leadership, and that's what is needed right now in Kenya Rugby Union is proper leadership.
We'll talk about the specifics and what exactly needs to be done so as to fix this mess. We know the election is set for 20th, and that is 11 days from now. And we also know the other people who will be in that race. Sasha is here with us, but also Odwor Gangla will be in that race. We know for him what he's been able to do as the secretary. He's saying, I want to do more now as the chairman. He has been sitting in that board. We also know that we have Siko James also on his side. He's saying that I was able to do what I was supposed to do for the KCB, the guys who are behind that all together, and he's also vying for all this. I know you're looking at these other guys. Yeah. Why you and not them?
Why me? Because I ran Kenya Rugby Union Sevens 2006 to 2010. That's when the big changes happened. As I was saying, player contracts, our performances, beating the best teams in the world. I remember I even cried at year when I was in San Diego. I was there watching Kenya beat New Zealand. And it was not a close game. I think we won 24-7. And then we got to our first final in Adelaide. And we had beaten South Africa, the Blitzbokker, in the pool game. But we lost in the final. And I was there. And I was there again in Dubai at the 2009 Rugby World Cup Sevens. We got to the semi-final. All these things were not by a fluke, it was hard work. We worked together as a team. Now when you have directors fighting players, that cannot work. In my time, I used to address all situations and talk to the players. Have kamkunjis, let's meet and talk. This is what we have. Money is a finite resource, it's not infinite. We're not, this is not UAE.
Are you saying that who the people who have failed the rugby fraternity in the country are the people sitting on that board and also the leadership of the...
It is, absolutely it is, because they are the leaders of this. So when that fails, all else fails. Together, it's supposed to work together. When the leadership is failing, what do you expect? Now, when you're changing coaches all the time, the coaching philosophy is changing. So we don't even know how Kenya should play. So you have one coach one season, different philosophy. Next season, a different philosophy. So the training patterns change. Everything changes. Now with the resources that we have, where are we going? You know? And what we know is, and one thing is for sure, the talent is there. Okay? We've been so close. We have won tournaments. We have won against fully professional players and teams. Now, the reality is things have changed. From 1995, rugby became a professional sport. Okay? Now, what is happening here? People are saying that, oh, there's no money. There's money. Money is there. This economy is growing. Companies that were in rugby that have left as sponsors, every year they're reporting super profits every year. It's not a shrinking economy. So all that is nonsense when they say there's no money. There's money. I've been talking to sponsors and they are willing to come in. So this is not a story. I've even taken some people in opposition to come and see. You know, I've taken people to see that in meetings that money is going to come into this sport because this is a flagship product. This team, the Sevens team, plays in 10 different places on earth with millions of eyes watching them. You know, and you look at the corporates that were there before, Sport Pesa, Kenya Airways, Virgin Atlantic. Even Sir Richard Branson came and even met the team here when they were flying here. Look at those brands, you know, international brands, and they maximized what they got from Kenya. So it is possible, you know, it is very possible, and of course even government has been coming in and helping out, you know.
We've seen your letter to the affiliates. I think we should go there and see what exactly you manifesto bring to the table, because there is a lot of things that needs to be done. But let me pick a little bit excerpt here if we will have it. I know you're talking about how you will fix the issues to do with finances, how you will fix the issues to do with making sure that we have that talent nurtured from the ground going up. I think, let me get that excerpt, and I read a little bit of it. For our viewers to know what exactly Sasha is saying he will be able to do if elected the president of the Kenya Rugby Union. 4-page it was, and here you're saying we need to immediately address the matter in order to bring the much needed finances to the Kenya Rugby Union out of its huge debt, and run all the rugby programs, leagues, and also national teams. It was about the issue with money and finances and the debt that the union has been having. They say it's approximately 82 million. We will see what exactly that figure will be on Wednesday. But in your own perspective, is money the big problem facing the Kenya Rugby Union at this particular time?
It's a big problem because Right now it's all about firefighting. Whatever little money comes into the union is used to offset debt and not run rugby programs. So anything that's supposed to come in for development, so what I say, it is misallocation of resources. Because right now they're looking at, okay, who is the creditor on our back, this one, so pay off. And that is exactly what led to that Paris debacle. Because the ministry paid money to the union, and there's a big overdraft in the bank. So as soon as the money hit the account that was meant to go to the players, and that's why they went in protest, the money went in to pay the bank overdraft. So it's misallocation of resources. Money, the little money that comes in with the little sponsorships that we have is not being used correctly. So that is now what I call mismanagement. I'm not saying corruption or anything. I'm just saying it's misallocation of resources. It's firefighting. So what I need to come and do is, bring back the confidence. Right now, there's very little confidence in Kenya Rugby, which is affecting sponsorships for clubs.
How do you bring that confidence back?
So
how do you do that?
It's all about perception. When people see, and they've worked with me, this big corporates that we're talking about, we have worked together in rugby and also professionally. And we come in with a team of 4 directors and the current directors on the board. They need to see that we are going to work together. There'll be no bickering. There has to be leadership. Proper leadership has been lacking. And this is what I'm talking about. This is the same thing that was there in 2017. It's become even worse now, because now everything has exploded onto the international limelight. Like that Paris debacle, I was telling you what happened there. It was just basically, miscommunication and misallocation. That the money was paid, the players expected the money to come in, and whether they were hoodwinked or whatever, and I don't know whether it was incompetence in the union or something. Really, that should never have happened. And yes, also I can blame the players for taking extreme action, but nobody was talking to them. And that is a problem. That is now what I'm saying, lack of proper leadership and mismanagement, because you always have to be in sync with your team. The team is also as good as its leader. If there's no leadership, what do you expect?
The Sevens have taken that drastic action, and yes, we know the senior players are not part of the outfit that is under Paul Murunga's leadership right now, and they're doing duty to the country. What do you think needs to be done just to fix this Sevens issue? Because the Sevens issue, money issue, it is a major issue that I think the next person who will be taking the reins needs to fix it. What exactly, specific? Give me a specific thing that needs to be done.
First of all, I commend Paul Murunga Pau for what he's doing, because he's doing a lot with very little. So he's not been given much, but he's doing his best with the players that he has. And you can see the talent. You can see now the naivety of some of the players because they have been exposed at this level. What should happen is that, we have academy players coming and they should be playing another satellite tournaments before they're thrown into the deep end. And when they're thrown into the deep end, they should also be with those experienced players that we're talking about. What was just said here by Eric at, how do you come from 170,000 to 45,000? That is a very valid question. You will not go to work the next week if you are told we're slashing your salary by a third. So there's a failure. The failure is not with the players. Let's be serious here. The failure is not with the players. The failure is with the union, and that is why I am here to change this. Now, the union is lacking credibility, both from corporates and from the players. That's why the players now are not even talking to the board, because they were threatened. You don't threaten your national assets. Right now, as I say, we have a Ferrari in the garage, but there's no fuel. It'll just sit over there and you look at it and it's getting dusty. That is what Kenya Rugby is all about. The Ferrari is in the garage, but there's no fuel. I want to bring in the fuel and let's drive this thing forward.
Players play a very, very big issue, and in your own assessment and where you're sitting from, these are some of the professional players, the big names. Okay, not professional players, but the players who are experienced and they played for the country for the number of times that they've been able to play. Is it time that these players are turned fully pro? Can we sustain that in Kenya?
Yes, we can. In 2013, if you look at the salaries of these players who are making, base of 150 for tier 1, because we broke it into tiers. Not everybody is going to get that. Academy players, like what we have right now, who are now representing Kenya wholly, they were getting the lowest part of the salary, because now there has to be an incentive that you move from here to tier 2 and to tier 1. Tier 1 is basically the guy who walks into the team, but he's been threatened by tier 2, and tier 2 players are being threatened by tier 3. So there's always competition, healthy competition for that space to be in the 12 traveling team to wherever, because now there was bonus incentives, get to a quarter-final, semi-final and a final and win it. These players were making more money that time in 2013 than their regular day jobs. But we call it semi-pro because they were doing two things. Some were students, and of course, as we push for education. So we would even talk when I was there as vice chairman, also as director. We'd go talk to the universities and tell them, let this player off. If there's an exam due, maybe delayed. We've had cases where a player comes in straight from an exam on Friday in Dubai and plays the next day. That is the reality that we have in Kenya. That it's amateurism or semi-pro. But I can tell you for a fact, in 2013 when we were there, players were making more money from rugby than from their day jobs. Once we have a big sponsor coming in with a 3-year plan, of course now players can plan themselves. Of course, what I push for is get your degree. Education is important, but these days also education is flexible. You can be doing a thing, you can be doing night classes, you get your degree. It's not like when you were in university in the 90s where everything was that structured. So we implore that the players continue with education, but rugby is a professional sport now. The boys are going to play professionals now. Today in Canada, when they're there, the opponents largely are going to be professionals, and our players here are not. So we are ready. We are back to. We have actually regressed. Right now, where we are behind. We are way back in 2005.
I know. Before we take a short commercial break, would you allow me to listen to the clip where Richard Omwela, when the Kenya side actually won in Singapore, he was asked about this issue about professionalism, and if it was a time that all Kenyans player turned pro, and this is what he had to say during that interview.
It's a question that we begin to think about because every other team in the world is professional, and you're right in the sense that is this something we should be looking at? In the Kenyan context, I don't see it happening soon because if you're playing professional, it means that you must pay me to play. And it calls into question whether a sponsor is prepared to pay enough to professionalize the game. And then look at it from a longer term perspective for players. After playing, then what happens? Because playing life has got a lifespan at about 30, 31. It's time to leave the game, then what becomes of the player? So we will continue to have some professional players because after their playing time, I think they need to change their career and go back to what they studied in school. So for me, not professional just yet.
That was in 2016. He said not yet, and up to now it's still not yet because it seems like we're not going that side.
I think that's why we're regressing, because we don't have ambitious people on the board. I'm very ambitious. Even in my career, I've worked on the biggest projects in East and Central Africa, We're not ambitious, but the players are ambitious. That's why I was telling you, in 2009 at the board, when I said we can get to a final of the Sevens World Cup, my fellow directors actually laughed. And, well, our players proved them wrong. So, we are good enough. Now, what we need is those structures. If the money comes in, and when it comes in, because it will come in, especially, the money was there then. We had sponsorship of more than $2.5 million from Kenya. It was a Kenyan company. Okay? Now, there are even bigger Kenyan companies now. You talk about Safaricom, it's a multi-billion, it's $1 billion company. You talk about SportPesa. Look at the insurance, the banking sector. Look at, in golf, there's money. This next weekend, they have sponsorship of over 450 million shillings for a weekend of golf. Okay? So don't tell me there's no money. It's viable now. I agree with what Richard said, that yes, the players are playing against professionals. So why not us? The money is there. People are just not ambitious enough, but we need to be. And I've worked with ambitious people, and I've seen what they can do. So let's push to the limit. Let's stop playing village rugby and regressing. Playing on bad pitches. Even our grass here, the best grass in Kenya grows in the world, actually grows in Kenya. And yet our pitches are pathetic. If
we are to go pro, if our players are to go pro, 100% pro, how do we manage that?
It will only start actually with the elites, which is the national teams. So yes, you can start with the sevens, because it was semi-pro in 2011, 12, 13. This is 2019 and we're going to 2020. Once we get in the big sponsorship that will come in and you set up the budgets, people know what they're getting. You know, you're working for this, day in, day out, you're working out, but you have to continue working, otherwise you are dropped to another level. So you're not going to be getting the same salary because this is now performance-based. We don't want people resting on their laurels, you know. But it has been done before and when I was there, so with a good team. So it's not impossible. And that was in a smaller economy in 2013. This is 2019. Things are happening. New companies are coming into the sphere here in Kenya. International companies are coming here. I don't see why not. And I'm seeing it every day. People are saying we want to come in, but not the way things are right now. So it's not a story. And I've taken people for meetings and I've seen that the money is actually there.
It can be done. It needs to be done. And the Kenyan players ought to be fully professional. It needs to start with the national team. Sasha Mtai there saying it in black and white. We'll take a short commercial break, but when we come back,